All right, welcome everybody to a special edition of Retro Rocket Entertainment. We're going to be doing the biggest box office bombs ever made. I'm your host, Michael, and my co-host,
Andrew.
Andrew, chose this list. We were thinking of going with
No, I did.
what?
That Wikipedia chose the list.
Oh well, yeah. Sorry, that's not what I meant. It's not like you cultivated the list. I meant like
No.
we were talking about going with like the worst movies ever made.
And I asked, is it opinion based? What?
Yeah, so this makes it more interesting. Everybody talks about god awful movies. This is something like it can be viewed as awful, but at the same time, it might be something that just kind of missed its audience. Because some of these movies have found an audience later, and I'm glad to talk about these.
Yeah, these are movies that tanked in the box office, regardless if they're good or not.
So yeah, if you look up the list on Wikipedia, it's under a list of box office bombs. Other than that, you can just listen to us chit chat about them. So we're gonna start from the top. We're gonna do 2 episodes. So the second will come up immediately after this. We're gonna start at number 50. Hard Rain.
I liked it.
I'm a big fan of Hard Rain. It's a silly title though. I can't remember. I think it was originally going to be called The Flood, which makes sense.
Which that would have made sense. Hard rain works too because it's a hard rain that gets a flood.
Yeah, but the way they would say it in trailers and stuff like that always seemed like
Hard rain.
Yeah. Here's the weird thing. I actually have a connection to this movie. I went to school at Vincennes, Indiana, and there was going to be a week where they were going to shoot, I guess like a week of outer, what do you call it, second unit footage. And
Yeah.
they needed some assistance, so they contacted our theater group. My degree is in theater technology, and they were going to get like our group to come out and be basically like PAs for that week. And I guess something fell apart. They changed their mind. They weren't going to do any like location shooting. They just stayed on the set, and that was such a bummer because I so wanted to work on that.
I too have a connection to this movie. Christian Slater, as you know, is in it. And in the 90s, the early to mid 90s, my hair was very Christian Slater.
Are we talking Gleaming the Cube, Christian Slater, or
No,
True
no,
Romance?
no. What is it? What was that movie? Untamed Heart.
Oh, wow. You had some seriously long hair then.
Not as long, but yes, very, very Christian Slatery.
Is that the connection? I thought maybe you
Yeah,
actually knew
that's
him.
it. That was
Okay.
the dumb joke.
The thing about the movie that I love is that scene where he's riding around on the water ski, what do you call it, jet ski, through the school.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, riding that around the school was like a fulfillment of like, oh my, like if I was 12, my brain would have exploded at that concept.
Right. So then you must have liked Masterminds or whatever that was.
You know what's funny is I've never seen it.
No?
No,
Okay.
I know someone who's a huge fan of it. It's not that easy to find, and for some reason when it came out, I never picked it up.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at Blockbuster at the time. You'll
Oh.
hear that from time to time when I am on this podcast. I worked at Blockbuster from time to time. And the only time I really remember seeing it, other than one preview for it on television, was when we got it in. And we never rented it out.
No? Huh.
If at all, it wasn't while I was on duty.
You would think that Patrick Stewart would have some sort of following with that. Okay, so I'll give you the plot of Hard Rain. It's pretty self-explanatory when I said it was called
Betty
The Flood.
White robs a bank.
What's that?
Betty White robs a bank.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was really her role is really, really funny. Minnie Driver's a little wasted, and Randy Quaid chews the scenery just a little bit too much. But I think the cast is pretty solid. Basically, it's Morgan Freeman and his team. They decide to rob Christian Slater, and I forget his name. He was on Mary Tyler Moore Show. Ed,
I don't remember.
Bah.
Ed O'Neill.
Now, basically, the flood stops them when they're driving like a cash truck, and Morgan Freeman and his men try to rob it. Things go wrong, so they're basically chasing each other through this flood, trying to get the money. It's a heist.
It's an entire town flooded.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good set. I mean, you can tell it's a set, but it's a pretty good one. There's no obvious signs.
If Sci-Fi Channel chose to do something, flood related, they could cannibalize this plot and throw in, some eels or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would have to have some sort of giant monster.
Yeah. Well, maybe not giant. Could have been like Snakehead Terror or something. That's a movie.
That's true.
Could be little tiny weird eat 'em up fishes.
um, yeah, I would say Hard Rain is usually something that plays on Netflix. It's easy to find, and I would watch it. It's not like a genius movie, but for what it
No,
is,
it's disposable pulp. That's really what it is. It's a pulp crime thriller with
and
action moments.
and the movie moves. I mean, it stays
Yeah.
it's outstays its welcome,
It's
but
not dull. It's not boring. Betty White gets her comeuppance, and that's true. She's a mouth in that, and then
yeah.
her husband turns on her for a second, which is nice.
Yeah, a lot of those, that was the revival of the disaster movie, and I think a lot of those were way too ponderous. It made you wait forever for anything to happen. You remember waiting for Dante's Peak? You're like, oh, please wrap this up, just get going. That was kind of like the plague of disaster movies back then, but Hard Rain decided to go with the action content.
Yeah. Oh, wait, we're flooded out. That's it. That's
Yeah.
the beginning of it.
And it's from the writer of Broken Arrow and Speed, so, he kind of knew that kind of genre better than probably a disaster genre.
Right.
Number 49 is Lolita. I've never seen this movie.
Which version?
It's the 1997 version with Jeremy Irons. I remember being like a Blockbuster exclusive. I also worked Blockbuster for about 6 months.
Right.
And I remember it got dumped like by Trimark or something like that onto video.
I didn't see it. I don't know why I didn't see it because I'm an adventurous sort. So I have watched risque stuff. Apart from Blockbuster, I also cut my teeth on cinema with Cinemax, not Skinemax, Cinemax Vanguard Cinema on Wednesdays during the early 90s. So I saw a bunch of French movies and art house films.
I didn't know
So,
Cinemax ever did that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so
Vanguard
I'm
Cinema.
assuming it's the same Lolita that Stanley Kubrick adapted.
It's the same plot.
Okay.
Yeah, same plot.
Well, I guess there wasn't really
Same
much to
story.
say about this one except that it was a huge, massive bomb. I can't believe it cost $62 million. Maybe this is why Trimark
Well,
went
the
out of
whole
business.
story, anyway. The story itself is controversial. Humbert is into a young girl, and she's not just so innocent little young girl, so she's tempting. So that's the whole deal.
Well, okay. I
She's
didn't even know this.
tempting. Yeah, that's why it's Lolita. That's why Lolita is like Long Island Lolita. You throw whatever the name of the town is in front of the lady who causes the trouble in whatever news story, Lolita. So, and it's because she's tempting, and she knows it.
Well, I feel
So.
kind of dumb for not knowing that. I guess you learn something every day. Number 48
All right.
is Sphere.
Yeah, not that good. Kurt Wimmer. It looked hollow. The whole movie looked hollow. For me,
we're
I don't know
talking
why the audience didn't like it.
We're talking the
Yeah,
Dustin
they
Hoffman
go underwater.
one? Okay, yeah. I didn't know
Yeah.
Kurt Wimmer wrote
Kurt-
that.
Yeah, he wrote it. It's a hollow-looking film. I like my undersea adventures and sci-fi stuff to be. You mentioned in our last podcast. Did you ever see Leviathan? Leviathan has really good visuals. It does.
I didn't realize I had that accent.
Very good and lived-in environment. And, yeah,
Well, the thing is, I
I
think
jokingly
Oh.
did your voice. It's not how you sound.
here's the weird thing about Sphere is that it always surprised me when I saw
You think what?
that it was directed by Barry Levinson, who at the time I don't think had ever done anything like this at all. He always done like kind of human pieces, and to attempt sci-fi was odd, and I don't really think he got a handle on it. Still there?
Did he do
Oh.
toys?
He did do toys. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
I'm here.
That one.
There's a lag.
Oh, sorry.
All right, toys is another thing that had problems visually with me. It looked like it should have been like more Tim Burton-y, and then it just kind of fell short from that. So I think Barry Levinson, when he tries to do stuff that's out of his wheelhouse, doesn't have a visual grasp on things.
I will say this: he did the movie The Bay a couple years ago. It's one of those found footage movies.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That was pretty entertaining. That one didn't require like a lot of visual, so he focused more on the human element. So that one, of the three genre movies he's made, if you want to count Toys as a genre movie, The Bay is probably the best one.
Yeah, it is.
And let's see.
But Sphere,
Yeah.
nah, I can understand why Sphere isn't that great.
Yeah, I was actually bored. I got it free when I bought a DVD player. Do you remember when DVD players first came out and they're trying to push them so they would give you like 5 free DVDs? Sphere was one of those, and I was bored out of my gourd.
Mm, yeah, I didn't. That was also when Contact came out, I think. Same year.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to do more high-minded sci-fi movies, but when you're
Yeah.
like 18, I just didn't have the patience for it. In fact, I don't even think I even cared for Contact. I probably would like it now, but I just didn't have the patience back then. And then
What's next?
number 47 is Instinct. That's the one with Cuba Gooding Jr., Anthony Hopkins. I remember seeing that, but
Anthony Hopkins.
there's nothing sticking whatsoever mentally about what it's about.
I I think you can YouTube it.
Is that the one where
Pretty.
he's found in the jungle or something like that? He goes crazy and kills somebody, and then Cuba Gooding Jr. defends him.
He's got some ape abilities. So he's working like I didn't see the film. I can watch it on YouTube, like I said. But I remember the trailer. I remember them pushing the ape angle, like Anthony Hopkins, wild man, ape, hanging with the apes.
So he's
So.
basically just like a octogenarian Tarzan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does not sound that interesting. I can see why that bombed.
Bum 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 bum.
Number 46, Osmosis Jones.
I liked it at the time. I really did.
That's the Farrelly brothers, right?
Yeah, they well no. That's the Fairley Brothers doing the beginning, the end, the live action inserts,
Oh, okay.
and I forget who else did the animation, but they might have done script work too.
Yeah, that one I actually remember. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember being pretty entertaining. But I can't
Bill
believe.
Murray gets a flu. That's what the movie is.
Yeah, and basically,
Wait, Bill Murray gets a flu and takes medicine. That's it.
yeah, and the animated version is the medicine going into his body, battling the germs. I think David Hyde Pierce and maybe Orlando Jones do the voice work. I can't remember now. It's one of those movies that's
Chris-
forgotten, probably for a reason.
I'm pretty sure it's Chris Rock doing the voice of
Okay.
the pill. Yeah, there's a robot sidekick pill. Yeah, I forget it all. But it was fun animation, and it was really highly stylized character designs and stuff like this for an animated piece, a 2D animated piece. They done everything was Disneyfied. Everything was trying to do Disney. Christian videos were trying to do Disney style. But Osmosis Jones did a different style of character design, which was good.
Well, I remember that was from Warner Brothers, and they had like 3 or 4 animated movies before they shuttered their division. And
Yeah,
they all
Iron Giant's one of them.
they all have their kind of own style, like Iron Giant. I remember Cats Don't Dance being one of them, and I'm being really entertained by that, even though it was a massive flop.
I that was Bluth, wasn't it?
You know what? Honestly, I don't remember anymore. It looked like it was Bluth style, but maybe not Bluth because
Or
he was with
it
Fox.
seems like it came out of his influence anyway.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
Warner Brothers, yeah, sadly, Iron Giant is probably their best. But even that
Yeah.
was a big flop. It's been discovered now, but back then no one watched it, and it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater, and I saw it on video. I bought it. I don't have the Blu-ray yet, but I bought every incarnation
Nice.
when it came out. I really stand by that movie, even though I'm not a fan of Superman as a character. And they use that as a motif.
You know what's
I
funny
like
is
it. I
I,
really
I don't
like
like Superman either. I've always found something I can never connect to his character. I can connect to Clark Kent, but I cannot connect to Superman at all. I have no idea why. Maybe it's because he really doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. He doesn't seem very human. Like I mean, he is alien. That's obvious, but it's more
Yeah.
like he doesn't seem like one of us. So I have nothing to connect to.
Right. Yep.
Number 45 surprises me because this movie I remember getting like all the award nominations, and I thought it was a huge hit. But Ali is on this list of one of the most unsuccessful movies, and I'm stunned.
Wow. Yeah, me too. I wouldn't have guessed that either.
It's just because it cost so much money, $107 million, only brought in 63. 63 is nothing to sneeze at, but I guess for a
It's Michael Mann, and it's Will Smith, and who else? Who else is in that cast?
Jamie Foxx, if I remember correctly, is his agent or manager. I don't remember anybody else. Why, did you have a name in your mind?
No. I was just thinking about where all the money would have gone.
You know, it could have been all the production value. Michael Mann, this is I think before he switched to digital, that so that it would make like effects easier to do. I think he probably went for authenticity and searched everywhere for like the right props, the right buildings. That kind of stuff can take up time, or he had to have stuff made. So and he's very like particular with the way he films things. So that probably just ate up costs.
Yeah.
And of course, Will
I
Smith was
haven't
not
seen
cheap.
it. I really haven't seen it. Yeah, so I'm thinking that's where most of the budget went to. I mean, Michael Mann is a premium director name, so money goes there, but more money goes to the star who's in front of the camera. So
Yeah, and Will Smith, that's when he put on a lot of muscle. I mean, he probably put on like 30 or 40 pounds to try to even get close to Ali's size. The nice part is that he played him when he was younger so that he could still kind of pull that off. If he was going to play him like in the 80s when he was big,
yeah,
he was big, it wouldn't have happened.
yeah. Younger plays older better than older playing younger.
Yeah. Number 44, Red Planet. I actually like this
I
movie.
liked Red Planet a lot, a ton, a whole bunch, and I was looking for it on YouTube again, and all they have is clips, because I had the DVD, got rid of it because I didn't watch it that much, but sometimes I get the itch to watch it.
Well, I think there's a sci-fi 4-pack from Warner Brothers that has that on there, but I think it also comes with, oddly enough, I think it comes with Sphere. You know,
well,
this is
that movie is another one that has high mind philosophy in it.
Yeah, and I love the look of it. It has like a retro look. It looks like it's something like out of the 50s, but in a way that could still be believable, you know, in our times, you know, something that would like logistically make sense.
It looks like the guys who design Apple products might have designed a lot of that stuff.
You know,
if you think about it. The streamlined, really clean looking retro futurism.
Yeah, this is that part of the 3 movies about Mars, and each one kind of made a little bit less than each one. I think the first one was Mission to Mars with Tim Robbins, directed by Brian De Palma.
Don Cheadle.
That one did okay. I mean, it didn't make its money back, but it didn't like totally lose everything on it. But then this came out, and this is right when everybody was rejecting Val Kilmer unfairly.
Yeah, why? Why?
Isn't it weird? If you look back on his catalog, this is when
awesome.
This is when Val Kilmer really started making great movies. He made Wonderland, The Salton Sea.
I love Salton Sea.
Oh, he did
so
one.
Good.
The Spartan movie by David Mamet, which I absolutely love. It was like 3 or 4 movies right in a row, and Red Planet I consider part of that. That revival of really good concept and good character pieces, but nobody went and saw it. Nobody cared.
Right.
I don't understand what
okay, well, I'll tell you right now. There's back then there was a lapse, and like nobody was paying attention to science stuff. The internet hadn't picked up the way it has now. If that movie came out now, and if it had maybe a different director, slightly different visuals or whatever, but mostly the same, it might pick up with the internet buzzing about it. It might not. It might just come out on Magnet, which is great. I like Magnet movies, but you can't say that the Magnet movies are like they're niche. It's a niche company,
right?
So only dorks like us like that stuff. The mass market doesn't really care unless it's like Interstellar, which I don't really want to see Interstellar.
No, it kind of looks boring, and that makes a lot of probably like film buffs go, "What? How can you not?"
Really?
It doesn't.
I do not respect you two.
It's in the same category as Contact.
This podcast off.
The thing about Red Planet is I am surprised it did cost as much as it did because the director, I think that's the only thing that he's ever directed, and the writer is Chuck Pafar, who is known for like things Darkman, Navy SEALs, Hard Target. So it's not like he was in high cost field, and Val Kilmer had already bombed a couple of times. I will have no understanding why this cost so much money unless it was just a disastrous film shoot.
It might have been that. I mean, you had Tom Sizemore on the cast, and he's not too easy to get along with. And Val Kilmer, though I really enjoy Val Kilmer, he's one tough dude to get along with on set, so I've heard.
Yeah, from what I've read about Island of Dr. Moreau, which I would not be surprised if it showed up later in this list, is that not only was he difficult, but he was kind of controlling. And, you know, that's a funny thing.
Sabotaging, really. He sabotaged a lot.
Yeah, the funny thing with actors is the industry likes to badmouth anybody who has a very strong vision. And if they have the power to try to make the movie the way they want to, if they're the lead and everything's riding on them, then so be it.
Kind of, yeah, but maybe like in Bulworth, was it? The
Oh,
actor isn't in his right mind to pull the strings like that,
true.
to try to pull the strings, and they don't have the vision, and that's what Bulworth is lampooning. Um, but I'm not sure Val Kilmer is actually that hacky.
No, 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 no. If it were someone who had like a huge ego but nothing to back it up talent wise, then yeah, that'd be a moment where you're like, oh, dude, you're pulling your strings right here. You need to back off and let someone else take the reins.
Like I really like Val Kilmer. I don't like The Doors. I don't want to. I've seen it once. He did a great job. I don't care. But Top Secret,
Oh
love,
yeah,
love, 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 love Top Secret. He did all of his singing. He was so earnest in his role. He would go to the director and say, "What's my motivation?" He's like, "It's a joke." Yeah, but what's my motivation? That's why. That's why his character. He sells the character so well in that movie to me.
I miss the
Uh,
fact that he started doing really serious movies because I think his best talent is comedy.
yeah, irreverent. He's like really good. Even Willow, he was Han Solo in Willow basically, but he to me was a more fun Han Solo than Harrison Ford could be.
Right, who's perpetually grumpy now. I'm like,
Yeah,
what happened to the joy that you used to have? You know what's funny
David
about
Blaine. David Blaine did a magic trick in his. That's where it went. David Blaine freaked him out, turned him into a grump.
Did you know that in Willow that it was originally going to be John Cusack? They were in negotiations with him, and then they switched gears all of a
To be
sudden.
Matt Mardigan?
Yeah,
That's silly. No way, man.
yeah. If
He
you
would have been. He would have just come off of Better Off, Better Off Dead in One Crazy Summer. That's silly.
Yeah, I think it's because they saw him in Journey of Natty Gann. I remember he was in Stand By Me, but he's only like in a little bit of it. I don't know if
Oh,
that's
Journey
why
of
they.
Natty Gann.
What's
I
that?
remember that. I remember Journey of Natty Gann.
Yeah, that's kind of a Disney movie that's been kind of cast aside. You never see that on the
No,
shelves. Everybody.
it's a good Disney movie of the week. That was good.
All right, so number 43, Chill Factor. Oh, I don't know how to feel about this movie.
How is that even like? How did that have prestige to it so that it could palm? I know
It
Cuba Gooding Jr. and Skeet Ulrich are in it,
Cuba
but
Cuba had just come off his Oscar, like the year before. He had just come off his Oscar, and I think this is
okay,
the
so
first
there.
project. And I remember a lot of the money did not go into the actual film. This is from a company called Franchise Pictures, and they were notorious for having these movies that were very, very expensive, that were huge flops. And every time you watched them and you go, this was $90 million, like Battlefield Earth. They did a lot.
Okay, well, what I heard about franchise, correct me if I'm wrong, franchise would take troubled films and then pump them full of more money and finish them and release them.
Actually, it was more. That might have been true on a couple projects. They were usually projects that would sit around forever. They were pet projects of whatever actor or director wanted to do them. And what they would
Battle.
do is embezzle. So they would go to a studio saying, we have this $70 million film with this person, this is the script, whatever. And like say Warner Brothers was their biggest distributor. Warner Brothers go, okay, so you have $70 million budgeted. We will give you 40 for the American release or North American release. Then you have to make up the rest of the cost by going overseas, and
Yeah,
raise the additional.
shopping.
Yeah, original the leftover 30 million. But the thing is that they never planned on making it for $30 million. They fudged the paperwork, and then they would make it for whatever Warner Brothers gave them. So if they gave them $40 million, that was the budget Chill Factor. So it says $70 million, but I guarantee it probably cost 35 or 40 million.
Well, it looks even less than that. I mean,
Yeah, and I would say it's probably only because of some of the action sequences were a little difficult, and Cuba Gooding Jr. probably got about 10 million for that movie.
right. And Skeet had to have gotten something nice.
Yeah, that was right after Scream. So yeah, I can imagine he at
Yeah.
least got a million or two. That's a guy that I really like. I really like Skeet Ulrich, especially on Jericho. But he's even after Jericho's cult following, he's still been cast aside as a 15 minutes of fame kind of guy.
He's just a working actor now.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that he was.
Hey, there's
terrible.
absolutely nothing wrong with working actors. Working actors are the backbone of our industry as far as acting goes. but that's basically what he is. He's not the star that they wanted him to be.
Yeah, and the same thing with Cuba Gooding Jr. I mean, after the Oscar, I think the only movie that he did that people were like really digging into was that Men of Honor. But for the most part, he seemed to do comedies. He did Rat Race, Snow Dogs, that horrible boat trip, and you know, like Chill Factor is kind of a comedy. I would say it's more comedic than it is an action movie because at no point did I ever take it serious.
It's a buddy comedy, really. That's what it is. It's a buddy action movie.
And I'm still confused as to why David Paymer was even in the first 5 minutes. It must have been a nice paycheck to show up because it seemed like such a waste for such a good actor.
Mm.
Do you know who? I was gonna say.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know who he is. What is it? Night of the Creeps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he's in the beginning of that.
That's not the only thing I know him from, but yeah, Night of the Creeps. He's a technician, scientist.
Honestly, there's nothing really else to say about Chill Factor, in my opinion. It is what it is.
Nope.
It's just one of those Die Hard, or it's kind of like a ripoff of Speed. You have to keep the thing cold no matter what, and if it doesn't stay cold,
ice cream truck, or a freezer truck. That's where the chill comes from.
And the dialogue is truly horrible. It's a buddy comedy, but it's like one of the worst buddy comedies when it comes to like chemistry. I almost feel like they're literally looking for whoever two actors were available.
Yeah, right.
Who can we get just to get this thing going?
We need a black guy and a white guy.
What is that? What is that rule? What is that thing that requires it be two different races or two different sexes? Why can't it just be like the way, you know, like, not that I'm saying that it needs to be whitewashed, but why can't it be two black guys or two white guys?
What's that movie with Will Ferrell and Marky Mark?
Oh yeah, the
other guys.
The other guys, yeah.
The other guys. That was done. Just everybody, like the two white guys are the goobers, but it's a buddy cop movie, and I mean that's how you do it. You have to make fun of that now. That's the only way.
Yeah, it's not about the color or the age or sex. It's about the chemistry. It
really initially was about the color or the sex because of juxtaposition.
Right, like 48 Hours.
Different walks of life, not being able to get along in a regular circumstance, but you have to. And it goes all the way back to the Tony Curtis movie with Sidney Poitier. Where they're chained together and they're on a chain gang and they escape, which was remade as Fled.
The Defiant Ones.
Steven Stupid Head Baldwin and Larry Fishburne.
Oh,
the
Fled.
What ones?
The Defiant Ones.
Yeah, that's it. It goes all the way back there.
I didn't realize Sidney Poitier was in that movie. I totally forgot that. Huh. So I guess we should probably move on. There was an awkward silence there.
Yeah.
Number 4, and that's okay. 42, Dudley Do Right. I actually like this movie a lot, and I have no idea why it cost $70 million. It looks good visually, but holy moly. That was even shot in Canada, and it cost $70 million.
Huh. I didn't see it because at that time, mining, and it's probably still, I'm not that interested in mining old cartoons and turning them into movies. Like, what was that? Inspector Gadget, they did the same thing too. Dudley Do Right. George of the Jungle. No thanks. No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah, most of them truly are horrible. But I think there's something about the spirit of the... I wish I could remember his name, but he created George of the Jungle. He did Rocky and Bullwinkle, Dudley Do Right. He had a very subversive tone to his cartoons. And Dudley Do Right is probably the best, the one that captures it just right. And I think because Brendan Fraser had just come off of the success of George of the Jungle, they just went ahead and greenlit this and didn't really put any plans into promoting it. Because I don't hardly remember a single commercial. And this was after The Mummy, so you think that the Universal would have put a lot of money into promoting it, but they didn't.
But they don't know what to do with a lot of kids stuff, and I don't know. I think now when you make kids movies, I think they figured out the demographics and the psychology behind the masses that they'll actually get things that kids want to watch now.
Yeah,
this is nostalgia. It's a nostalgia-based thing, but it's also a kids thing, and kids aren't nostalgic for things that they don't know about.
No, it's mostly about the parents, and if you can't sell it to parents, then they're not going to go see it.
Right.
And
So
then that
that's, I
shows.
think, where the problem is.
Here's the weird thing: with the exception of the first George of the Jungle, all of the cartoons from that creator have been huge, massive flops. Rocky and Bullwinkle, Boris and Natasha, Sherman and Peabody just came out and it lost a ton of money. This might be something that it's a very niche audience and they shouldn't be spending huge chunks of cash
Yeah,
on.
I think the Sherman and Peabody thing failed a lot because the character designs differed so greatly. You don't have to differ that much if you do CG. You don't really have to differ that much, and it differs so much. My wife loves these, and she saw just the picture of the CG versions, and she was like, "No, that's it. No,
It
no."
was.
She loves these old cartoons. So
Yeah, I felt that way with the Rocky and Bullwinkle. When I was looking at it, it was like it's just ugly to look at. They're trying to do some sort of you know how they when that whole fad of like cell shaded CGI, that kind of
yeah,
animation style.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is like the very early version of it where it tried to look like it was hand drawn, but at the same time it was almost CGI, and it just looked bizarre. And plus the fact it just wasn't a funny movie, and that's what if you're gonna make a comedy like this, especially based on the guy's name is Jay Ward,
Yeah.
based on cartoons that are very subversive and tongue in cheek, you better get the comedy right for grown ups because that's the audience that gets it.
Mhm. Yep.
So I don't think they're ever
You're
going to
right.
get it right. So maybe they should just go. Maybe they just go do a low budget animated series if they're going to continue it. Which I heard
That's absolutely right.
DreamWorks
Just
spent
do a
a
30
lot of
minute
money.
series.
Yeah, they bought the whole catalog, DreamWorks, and they don't know what to do with them now that Simon and Peabody hit them pretty hard. I think they're just
Oh,
going to have to.
do you remember Time Squad? I think it was. It's a cartoon.
Was it fairly recent? Like in the last 10
Ew,
years?
not last 10 years. Yeah, it's like 2005, 2000 something. It was very like I think Tim Biscuit worked on the backgrounds for it. Um,
It seems
uh,
familiar.
it's very flat. It's very like what's it called? Dexter's Lab era look to it, which harkens back to the very limited animation style of like Flintstones. But
Right.
it's really what it's the kind of approach that they did then is where they should take their property now with the Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff. Just make another series, but do it like they did Time Squad.
Yeah, I really like so you're saying it's more like the classic UPA style that company that they pioneered where it's more like minimalist animation
Yeah,
where they took out a lot of the
well,
excess in the
Hanna
background.
Hanna Barbera when they started crossing over to TV from like their film stuff, like Tom and Jerry was like really perfect animation most of the time, beautiful stuff. But when they crossed over to TV, they didn't have budgets for that because they had to. It was like a mill. They had to keep churning out these cartoons. So Hanna Barbera came up with the limited style, very limited. And if they have had a lot of action, they recycled stuff like this.
Okay. Because do you know what company
Yeah,
I'm talking about?
UPA.
Yeah, they were
Same era. It's the same era.
yeah, they
So
weren't as low budget as Hanna-Barbera, but I can't think they chose style, but minimalist style is they're very unusual cartoons. I think that style has kind of been forgotten. Excuse me. And I really appreciate that look. And Chuck Jones started adapting that in the '60s too, and it looks really beautiful. But a lot of people don't get it. Like it confuses them. Why does it look like this?
right.
All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I know
uh,
what you're talking about.
yeah, 41, The Astronaut's Wife. I remember watching this with Johnny Depp. I think if you remember correctly, he's an astronaut who somehow gets an alien implanted in his brain or something like that, or takes over his body.
Something I didn't watch it, but I had friends who watched it and they hated it.
Yeah,
They
it's
were X
really
Files
bad.
type folks. They were X Filesy. They loved X Files, and so when they saw this and they came out of it and they saw me the next time they saw me and they were, what did you see this weekend? They were mad.
Yeah, it has one of those endings
They
that
were
just
angry.
truly just oh, you're so irritated.
Hmm. But everybody still loves Johnny Depp.
So there's that. If you want to go find the movie, it has Charlize Theron, Johnny Depp. That's all I can say. Number
Nice.
40, Conan the Barbarian, the remake.
Oh, the remake?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I guess that did bomb.
Oh yeah, it was way too expensive. You know what's funny is, you know how we're talking about the franchise, the way they manipulate budgets. I get the
Uh,
feeling that Conan the Barbarian, made by Millennium Pictures, they do the same thing. They keep saying
hmm.
these movies cost so much money, and I look at it and I go, I don't see that.
But I like that movie. I don't love it. Okay, I like it a lot. I like just about everything about it. I like Marcus Nispel. I like him as a director. I like his visuals. He makes comic books. That's what he does. He did Pathfinder. That's why he did this. Pathfinder was based on a 1986 or 85, I think 86, Scandinavian film. Same plot as Pathfinder. Kid gets left behind by his Viking tribe. He gets raised by indigenous folk of the area, and then it's kind of like a white guilt movie in a way.
Yeah, I remember that being a really big flop too. Like, it
Yeah.
cost a lot of money, and then the studio had no idea what to do with it, and they kept delaying it and delaying it and delaying.
None of Marcus Nispel's movies have been ginormous, the most biggest awesome hits, but he has an incredible visual sense. He was a music video director. He did Faith No More's Small Victory.
Oh, seriously, that's my favorite video. I had no idea he directed that.
Wait, what? Are you serious?
Yeah, Small Victory is my favorite. The way he ends it, just like that kind of whisper, like, at one constant rhythm, at one constant pace, and you still won't hear. It's like one of those, like, really, really, like, deep, poetic songs that really just digs in my brain and won't let go. At the time, I thought that was, like, the most expensive video, and they hardly ever aired it, and I was so depressed.
I love that video too. That's like just such a great. Yeah, so I looked. I was like, really? When I learned about Friday 13th, he also did. Okay, he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of them.
Yeah, I
I
actually
think he did
really,
the first.
I do not like the Texas Chainsaw franchise that much, but
Mm-hmm.
not only is it about style, but man, he really got some great performances out of his cast, and I was
That's the
surprised.
Jessica Biel one.
You're right.
He got a great shot of her jeans. Um, that movie, I'm like Marcus Nispel. I want to know who that guy is, so I looked him up, and then I learned about Faith No More connection, and I'm like, whoa, because that was a very impactful video to me. It's very impressionistic, classic imagery, but impressionistically done. World War One footage or reenactment stuff and other crazy art stuff.
Yeah, if you get the
I
chance,
love
look
it.
that up on YouTube because that's one of
So
those videos that like passed us by and it shouldn't have.
right, all of his works have this really great visual stamp of quality,
A lot of
super
texture.
quality. Yeah, layers. Um, but they never seem to resonate, especially at the time they come out. Except for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that came out, everybody was all over it. They all said they hated it, but they all watched it and buy it.
Yeah.
So that there's a sequel. Anyway, but the other ones, Friday 13th doesn't have a sequel yet.
No, they're thinking of doing a found footage Jason movie, which sounds like a terrible, terrible idea.
It could work, but I don't think it should work
It's not,
as a found footage alone. There's a movie just recently came out called Extraterrestrial by the Butcher Brothers, and those guys did Grave Encounters, which is all found footage, and Grave Encounters 2. I don't like either Grave Encounters movies. They're ghost hunter movies. Ghost hunting gone awry. And I don't like them. I think they're silly. But when they did Extraterrestrial, they combined regular filmmaking, which they're filmmaking when they do it like as regular people shooting, like how Spielberg might shoot.
right.
It's beautiful, and then they intercut every once in a while with a few moments of handheld found footage elements, like a guy picking up his cell phone using that to see in the dark or whatever, and that works. So you can do that with Friday the 13th, but not as a full movie. I don't think.
Nah, it just seems like a dumb
That's just
concept.
Blair Witch with Jason being the witch.
All right, back to Conan the Barbarian. The one thing I saw this in the theater, and the one thing at the time, it took me out of the movie was the insane amount of gore. Like, it was so over the top. Like, you would hit him against a rock and he would explode in blood. I didn't get it at
Uh,
the time, but I kind of get it now that he was trying to give, the audiences what they wanted, because
mhm.
the very first Conan the Barbarian movie was pretty gory. The second one was a kid's movie. And
Yeah.
I think he was trying to take it back to that pulpy sense. But two, he knew it was a comic book, so he just went full bore.
Right.
The only thing that disappoints me is every time I look at the budget, I still go, "What? $90 million?" Because I felt like,
Maybe effects houses, but effects houses are notoriously shortchanged. So
yeah, I look at it and I felt like there's a couple really great action sequences like involving CGI, like the giant snake, and when Rose McGowan, she's like the Sand Queen or whatever she was, like she was.
yeah, she sends out these minions.
Those two sequences looked really difficult and complicated, but at the same time, I think it's one of those movies where they must have either spent it on something else. Like I remember Brett Ratner almost became the director of this.
Hmm.
And they also tried to get Arnold Schwarzenegger back, so they might have paid him like some sort of holding deal.
Hmm.
That might have been where the money goes. A lot of these movies, like the development costs are so high that when you look at the budget and you look at the movie, you're going, "Oh, that doesn't line up at all." It's because they spent like 10 years renegotiating contracts.
Yeah.
Like Conan the
What's
Barbarian,
after that?
Land of the Lost,
I
the Will Ferrell
saw
one.
that at the theater.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't
I
get
was
it.
just
That's another movie I did not get at the time. I remember watching it
I
going,
was disappointed. Come on, it's a disappointing film because everybody's annoying.
yeah, well, also the fact that Will Ferrell looks like he was not reined in at all. There's some directors that know how to handle his improvisational skills, and then Brad Silverling, I feel like he didn't know what to do, so he just let the camera sit, and then like someone else just said, "Oh, keep that in, keep that in, keep that in," and he's just like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll handle the special effects part."
Yorma Tacone as the ape kid was amazing.
He's pretty good. I really like that.
He's amazing. Yorma's awesome at everything that he does, including making MacGruber. But the slee stacks were good. I like how they were designed, and I like a lot of the visuals were great in the movie. But it was boring because all the joke style, the style of joke we'd already seen over and over again for years when he was on SNL.
And I've
So
never been a fan of Danny McBride. Never. I don't get him. I don't get his style. The Foot Fist Way was amusing, but he's been playing the same character over and over and over, and I'm just not interested anymore.
he's not the same character in Pineapple Express. He just plays it like he can't not play it. He's Danny McBride, so he's like one of those actors. Like Jack Nicholson isn't a character; it's Jack Nicholson in a movie.
That's true.
Most of Tom Cruise movies are like that too. People say that about Keanu Reeves. The blank, you just project yourself onto them.
Yeah, I don't.
But
I never saw that with Keanu Reeves, and though
I like Keanu a lot.
I do
Like,
miss his energy that he had when he was younger, like the
yeah,
energy of Bill and Ted's and stuff like that, and Love You to Death. I want to say the one with Kevin Kline. He was a lot of fun in, and they kind of just faded away. I don't know why.
oh right. Oh yeah, I forgot he was in that.
All right.
Wow, Tracy Ullman movie.
Yeah. 38 is K-19, The Widowmaker. I never finished
No,
it. I was bored out of my mind.
which one is that? Who is in that?
Harrison Ford, Liam Neeson.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah, let's just move on. A huge flop. Catherine Bigelow, very talented, but it was a
Wait,
snoozer.
Catherine Bigelow did it?
Yep.
She was probably just working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a long gap between. I think if I remember correctly, she had done Strange Days, which was a big
Hmm.
flop, and then
But it was great.
she didn't do anything until this, and this was a huge flop. And then she went and did The Hurt Locker, and everything changed.
Yeah,
Going much
Hurt Locker.
tighter budget. 37, I've seen, but it makes my skin crawl. Is Beloved.
I haven't seen that,
I
and
made
I
it.
don't want to.
Oh, it's one of those movies where the whole time you're like, oh God, I need a shower. This is.
Is it just abuse? Is it
It's
like torture porn for women who don't like torture porn?
it's all I remember from it now. I was stunned that Jonathan Demme wanted to do it for the first point. I was like, what? And two, Oprah Winfrey was a star,
Right?
and three, Thandie Newton is like a
Yeah.
tortured soul. I don't remember if she's mentally ill or she's just like possessed by something. But it's just one of those grimy. I just remember being just very, very uncomfortable the entire time. And after I was done, I was like, I need to watch cartoons and take a shower. I need to
Well,
clean my
okay,
room.
wait. What was so grimy and gross about it? What
I
was
think I
the
think I
controversy?
remember, if I remember correctly, mind you, this has been like 16 years since I saw this. I think if I remember correctly, she did have mental problems and she has some sort of like sexual addiction, but it was based on, I think, being raped. I really don't remember. I'm doing the movie plot injustice, but I remember it just being very sexual, but like in a it would make Angel Heart look like a Disney movie kind of feel. You know,
No, because
yeah,
Angel Heart's hard.
yeah,
Angel Heart got an NC-17.
and that's how it felt to me. I was just like, oh, I don't feel good at all. I want to stop watching this.
You know what? I might be interested. I just looked it up, and it's all uh, horror drama film. I might actually be interested in that.
Yeah, I just couldn't
Uh,
get into it.
I just you throw Oprah's name on it, and I just get flashbacks to being 13 and my mom watching Oprah.
Yeah. Let's 36 Poseidon. I actually like this movie, not as much as the original Poseidon Adventure, but I do enjoy this movie, mostly based on Kurt Russell.
I didn't really see most of it. I think I saw bits and pieces while it was on some TV broadcast. Um, it looked fine. Was it Wolfgang?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, so it's a boat movie, and he does boot, and so he knows how to handle water and cast members. So
There's nothing particularly groundbreaking. There's nothing like original about it. Of course, it is a remake. Um,
so it's basically work
yeah, it's
for
just work.
everyone
Everybody in
involved.
it's just doing the best they can do. This is when they're really pushing Josh Lucas as a lead, and
Yeah.
it never felt right. Like Stealth and this and like I think it was after Incredible Hulk they tried like 3 times and it just didn't work. But I mean he's not a bad actor. He's just not the kind of guy that seems to be a lead.
He yeah, he works better in a larger cast. One movie that he works really well in. He's the lead, the romantic slash just dramatic lead. Um, it's called Red Dog, and it is one of the best the best movies about a dog that dies.
I have
Um,
never heard of that one.
it's an Australian film. He's an American gone to Australia, and there's a dog. This is based on a true story. Of course, they wrote a really tear-jerky, awesome story for it that is probably not as tear-jerky in real life, but they tailored it around this um, Kelpie cattle dog cross breed, who's well known for his travels through Western Australia's Pilbara region. I just read that. And it's a true story. The dog is very famous, and it was just a stray dog, and it took to this traveler, this guy, and it's just so good. And Josh Lucas is in it, and he sells it. He works. It's his best role, I think. The whole movie is just dang near perfect. But if you don't want to see an animal die, don't watch it.
Well, that's a good recommendation. I hope I
It's
can
not
find it.
not, not like okay, not real animal footage dying, cannibal holocaust. No,
Oh, I can't
it's
imagine.
just a story. Just a story about a dog that very special dog.
All right,
Red Dog.
Red
That's the
Dog.
name of it. Red Dog.
All right,
So Josh
35.
Lucas
What?
maybe not be the best leader of films, especially Poseidon,
Uh huh.
but Red Dog.
That works for him. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 35, Zoom. Tim Allen, superhero movie. Came a little bit too late. Sky High
Wait,
kind of hit that plot already.
yeah. Wait, Zoom? Tim Allen?
Yeah.
This is how much of a flop it was. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I remember Sky High.
I remember. Yeah, it came out a year after Sky High, and it already covered the plot. It had the tone of Galaxy Quest, just not as good by any means. It cost a lot more than Galaxy Quest. It cost $75 million. It made 12. That's crazy bad.
Okay, now I'm looking at the thing, and yeah, it looks. I remember the poster now.
I remember the only thing I really remember about it is Chevy Chase being like the head of the lab that develops their costumes or something like that and studies them, and he's sweating it so bad to get the jokes to work. It hurts. It hurts watching everybody try so hard. I actually like Tim
It's
Allen, but
it's by it's by Peter Hewitt, who I really like.
didn't he do
Is
Bogus Journey?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. You are
Oh,
so good.
wow.
Bogus Journey is one of my favorite movies, and Peter Hewitt directed it, and then he directed um, Zoom. And his last movie was Maiden Heist, which came out just after Zoom in 2009. Zoom came out in 2006, and poor guy.
That looks like it was it for him, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Maybe
bummer.
he's doing something else, but maybe
Maybe,
he's
yeah.
retired. Maybe he's just relaxing. That would be good. You don't have to make movies.
No, you can do other things,
Relax.
that's for sure. All right. So number 34 is Peter Pan,
Uh,
the
Jeremy Sumpter,
2003.
Peter Pan.
What's that?
Jeremy Sumpter,
Right.
Jason Isaacs.
I don't remember it
I
being
liked
bad. Yeah, I remember it being
No,
very
I
beautiful.
liked it. It was good. It was a solid Peter Pan, live action Peter Pan. I always liked Jeremy Sumpter since I saw him in Frailty.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that's where he came from. Where's he
Yep.
now? Have you seen him?
He's just doing small things, indie movies. His latest was a movie called Animal, for Chiller, which they released theatrically for like a month or something, and it's going to be on Blu-ray and DVD in February.
Yeah, that's not a
Animal.
movie that I
That
I'm
has
having problems with.
Joey Lauren Adams too.
But it cost $80 million and only made 17 million. I don't understand how.
Wait. He did.
What?
Real quick about Jeremy Sumpter. He did a movie. Jeremy Sumpter did a movie a while ago made by the director of photography for Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, was it the Sasquatch Dumpling Gang?
Sasquatch Gang.
That's actually a pretty good movie.
It's not
I
nearly
enjoyed it.
as awesome. Yeah, it's not nearly as awesome as Napoleon Dynamite is, but for an odd nut of a comedy about Sasquatch,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's great. It's super
Justin
good.
Long has like a small part in
The
it, but
guy's
he
always
kills it.
got his shirt off.
Yeah.
It's one of the few Justin Long roles that I like.
You know
Sorry,
what?
Justin Long, if you ever hear this,
I
I'm not
actually
against you.
I said that wrong. Peter Pan cost 130 million and it made 69 million. That's not the worst.
Whoa.
Yeah, I guess it seemed like it would
But-
make a lot more money. It
but-
came out at Christmas and it's a family movie,
The budget's really big. The budget's really big for not having that big of a pull. This is domestic gross you're looking at?
but worldwide
Or
gross
overall?
is 121 million and American domestic gross is 69. But even if you cut that down, it didn't even get close
Well, I
to make
can
its money
get
back.
that because we don't like anything.
We don't like anything, period.
Say that again?
Oh, you said we don't like anything.
No, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. You said we don't like anything, and then you cut off.
No. My words probably got chopped up. The internet connection.
Okay.
Problem with the internet.
Yeah, sorry, there was a weird lag there. I hate that. It was going well, for a while there, and now all of a sudden it's cutting out. Dang it.
Yep.
33.
All right, well, technology. What can you do?
33. The Postman with Kevin Costner.
I still haven't seen it. I still haven't seen it, but I heard how much of a troubled production that is, and how lame and boring it is. And is it?
No, I
Was
really like it. I own it. I've actually seen it, quite a few times. I think the biggest problem with The Postman is the fact that it opened up. I don't know what he was thinking, making another post-apocalyptic movie after Waterworld, like 2 years after Waterworld. I think people were just like, "Oh God, again," and it was also very, very expensive, and I'm not sure why it cost so much.
Is Waterworld on this list?
I don't think Waterworld's on this list because I think it made its money back with foreign. If it is, it's going to be in the top chunk. No, it's not on here at all. We were going to talk about Waterworld, and now we won't get the
that's
chance.
Awesome.
Well, I guess
what a silly movie.
What's Waterworld?
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, let's talk about Waterworld for a bit.
I remember defending that movie nonstop to my friends who all said it was stupid, but I always felt like they were saying it was stupid because of so much bad feedback about it. Like it was automatic knee-jerk reaction to talk crap about it. And I was like, it is what it is. It's like a comic book movie. It was like a comic book movie before we got them on a regular basis. The Mariner's a superhero. He's got his costume. He's got his vehicle. He's got his big bad villain, and then it's just I was hoping for more because like each time it would just be a brand new adventure. Though you probably would get sick of the water after 3 movies.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I even went to Universal Studio Tours and saw the Waterworld stunt show, which used to be the A-Team stunt show. Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah,
The movie's fine and fun for people being so cinephiliac about the whole thing, like um, vitriol against it. Ah, what a piece of crap. No, it's not what a piece of crap. It's a silly genre movie.
the score is amazing, and the special effects are really great for that
If you don't
time.
like Kevin Costner, that's your problem.
I get the feeling a lot of people don't like Kevin Costner. Every time he does have a movie that people like, the critics back up, the audiences are just like, meh.
Right? I think his heyday was Bull Durham.
Yeah, well, I think it's because of the Robin Hood thing. He wasn't British. He didn't play with it. Well, he sort of played it with a British accent. I feel like he was
He
trying to.
tried. He
Yeah, and
tried at the very beginning of the movie. You heard his accent not come through, but he was really struggling with it.
all of his movies were like 3 hours long, like nothing under 2 hours. I mean, even like the smallest movie, like The War, seemed to be like 2.5 hours, and I think that kind of grated on people too.
I didn't mention this in the Halloween episode, but I should have maybe. There's a movie that Kevin Costner did, not Dragonfly. That is a genre film. It's a horror movie, horror thriller, more thriller than horror, but it has some freaky stuff in it. It's rated PG-13, but who cares? Nobody's seen it, so it's not like there's a big problem. The movie's called New Daughter.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about this. Not in the podcast, but some other time you were telling me about this. I remember seeing that. It's from the Mexican director. Right? He did oh darn it. He did some movie that was really popular at the time, and then he did New Daughter, and no one knew what to do with it. And Anchor Bay like released it on like 10 screens.
Yeah, New Daughter is so interesting and strange. It's 2009. Um, Guy moves to Louis. What is it? Louis Verdejo. That's a director. Um, he moves to South Carolina somewhere, and his daughter starts acting crazy, bonkers, and he starts noticing these mounds, these burial mounds from Native American stuff, and craziness ensues. And it's actually, yeah, I should have mentioned it. Halloween. I
Eh,
didn't.
we can always do another edition next Halloween.
Sure.
Um, yeah, The Postman is just a big flop, bad timing. He should have waited, or maybe not have spent as much money. I don't understand how he did Dances with Wolves for like $20 million or less, and then for some reason The Postman costs. It must have been just one of those productions that just got out of hand because you watch it and you can see the budget is higher, like visually, than Dances with Wolves, but you're like,
Right.
oh no, there's no reason why it costs this much. No, it's crazy. But it's
Hmm.
maligned. I think it's maligned mostly because of the backlash from Waterworld. That's about it. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's slow, but most of his movies are kind of slow and ponderous.
Yeah.
32 Monkey Bone. Ooh.
Monkey Bone.
It's kind of bad that Brendan Fraser made this list twice already, and we're only at 32.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the budget on that one?
That one was 75 million.
That's not that much for an effects-driven film.
Yeah, it's from the director of Nightmare Before Christmas, Henry
Henry
Selick,
Selick.
and it's from the script by Sam Hamm, who did Batman, who had probably one of the most torturous careers, I think, of anybody who every year he seemed to be hired for some comic book project that never went anywhere. I mean, he
Hmm.
was paid well, but you never got to see any of his work except for this, and now I think this is the final straw. It's an
Now,
adaptation.
Monkey Bone has some amazing stuff in it.
Yeah, and it's an
Absolutely
adaptation of the
great.
comic book Darktown, which
But
I never
but
read.
the problem with Monkey Bone is that Henry Selick knows how to shoot animation the way he does so perfectly, but he doesn't really handle the visuals on the human side of things
No.
as interestingly at all. Even with stunt work that went silly and crazy in it with the humans. When he's directing humans, they're doing their scenes right. They're doing the comedy beats right. They're doing all that stuff correct. But it's just not that fun to look at. Once you get into the crazy, what is it? What's it called?
Darktown.
Darktown. Once you get into the Darktown parts of the film, man, that movie stands out.
I know.
It's great. It's weird. It's got. It's got. You mentioned her already, Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
As the cat girl. She's great. She's great as the cat girl.
And John Turturro voices perfectly Monkey Bone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, Monkey Bone, the character is obnoxious and annoying and wrong. That's what he's supposed to be. But it's got a big cast of little moments.
Yeah, it has a lot of character actors, like good character actors, like almost A-list kind of people, like Dave Foley. You know, it had Whoopi Goldberg, Thomas Hayden Church, not Giovanni Ribisi, Giancarlo Esposito. As like
That's what I was going to mention. Not Giovanni Ribisi. That would have been funny if he was in it.
Yeah, Bridget Fonda, Megan Mullally. It has a lot of really great people that play small parts because the main focus, of course, has to stay on Monkey Bone and Brendan Fraser's character.
Mm-hmm.
Who I think Brendan Fraser doesn't get a lot of credit for basically going all in. His characters, when he's given something to do instead of like some generic drama or thriller or whatever, he really just has no hesitation with embarrassing himself. He doesn't get any credit for it. Yeah.
I mean, you're an actor. Why aren't you doing the thing?
I'm always surprised he never played a superhero. He never got that opportunity.
Well, Dudley Do-Right, I mean, I guess maybe. Tarzan or George of the Jungle, maybe, I guess.
I guess
but those are lampoons. Those are lampoons of those.
Yeah, I was talking more straight up. Like, I think at one time they were talking about having him being Superman, but he didn't want to sign on for a 3-picture deal, which now, look at the deals for superhero movies, and 3-picture deal seems like nothing.
Nothing, but he wanted to be with his kids, I'm sure.
Yeah. But family over movies. I mean, it makes sense, so.
Yep.
Monkey Bone.
Chris Kattan was in that as organ donor Stu. Right, his guts were falling out.
I forgot about that.
And he possessed him. Yeah. So, right.
Monkey Bone was a massive flop. I really thought it was going to go. I didn't think it was going to be a huge success because it kind of had like a cult. Like, you know how movies in the late...
It doesn't seem to be like one that's on anybody's list nowadays.
Yeah, it seemed like it's something that should have been a lot cheaper, like something that would have come out in the late 80s, early 90s from an independent company, and that would have like a niche audience. At best, another Beetlejuice, but it only made $7 million. $7.
Like a rights what's it called? Drop Dead Fred. I was going to say Right Said Fred. That's not a movie. Drop Dead Fred type of thing.
Yeah, it just had that kind of offbeat. Okay, so you remember after like... It felt like in the 80s, I was kind of young for this, so I don't really remember it completely, but there seemed like to be like this weird underground thing where it was like kitschy and odd and like, you know, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Elvira, Oingo Boingo, you know, where that stuff started to rise up and, you know, ended pretty much with like Tim Burton becoming mainstream. It seems like Monkey Bone would have fit right in at that time, like in the 80s.
Yeah.
That feel.
Well, Tim Burton worked with Henry Selick after that. So it does seem like it's linked to that.
Yeah, I actually thought Tim Burton produced Monkey Bone. I could be wrong.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Do you remember Cabin Boy?
Probably. Yeah, Cabin Boy. He produced that thing, which was also another one of those bonkers weirdo things that should have been even crazier, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I think the budget was just so tight on that. I think they made it for like $5 million or something like that on a stage, which is crazy.
David Letterman doing a cameo appearance for no reason.
Yeah. You're a fancy lad. Can't stand them fancy lads. All right, number 31, Alexander. I'm going to go to sleep while we talk about this movie because it's so boring. And there's like 8 different cuts.
Right, what's the one to watch?
I have no idea. There's
Do I even care?
There's the extended cut, the extreme cut, the director's cut, the final cut. And I'm like, you're just trying to make your money back. That's all you're trying to do is just make some money back. This actually destroyed the company, Intermedia. It cost them so much money, and they barely made a profit off of Terminator 3, and then Alexander just buried them. And it's so dull. I'm not a huge Oliver Stone fan. I think a lot of his movies are just excessive and ponderous and bleh. I'll give you Platoon. I'll give you Wall Street. After that, it
Yeah.
gets a little touch and go.
The Tune's all right. Oliver Stone. Oh, wait. U-Turn. U-Turn's great.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That one's a really low budget, like almost like as if he was making a grindhouse movie with a really good cast.
That's it. Yeah, it's just a thriller, and it's a quirky thriller. It's good.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch Alexander, I guess
Visually, it's what he should have been doing the whole time.
yeah, Alexander looks beautiful. It's really insanely long. I guess one bonus is Rosario Dawson's nude. I guess if that's what you're looking for in a movie, if that's the only thing you want in the movie. I was like, oh, you got that.
Well, then if the other bonus is like Colin Farrell is nude too.
This
So
is true. If you're that's your boat. 30. This is probably one of the most talked about bombs in history, and I'm surprised it didn't. I guess it's based on financial and not critical. Geely or Jiggly. It's Geely, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it.
it's Gigli. Yeah,
The thing that depresses me most is that it's from Martin Brest, who did Midnight Run, Beverly Hills Cop, Scent of a Woman. I have to say, Scent of a Woman started to be that turn, and then he went to the excessiveness of Meet Joe Black, and then it just ended with Geely.
yeah. I don't remember Gigli too much except for watching two people who had sex regularly um, fake fight at each other
Yeah, I don't remember the movie
because
being.
that was the the Benifer thing, the Ben Affleck Jennifer Lopez romance blossoming in front of our face or something.
What was their nickname?
But it Benifer?
Benifer, was that
No.
it? Yeah, I guess that was it. That's stupid. I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah, I mean that's what you're watching when you watch that movie, and you're watching how awkward it is because of that. I think, and obviously it didn't last. So
Yeah, and the funny thing is,
neither did the movie.
yeah,
It only has like a 90-minute running time or something.
this movie had collateral damage to the next pairing up, which is Jersey Girl, which is I know a lot of people hate it, but I actually really enjoy it. It's a family movie. It's not a normal Kevin Smith movie, and I don't care. I don't mind it at all.
I don't like Kevin Smith in general. Um, I'll tolerate some movies. I think I saw that movie and I didn't hate it.
Yeah,
So
it's like the only one that I can watch with
that's
my
the best
mom.
I could say about it.
That's I can say yeah. Jersey Girl's the
Oh
only
yeah.
thing you can watch with family without being oh no. All right, number 29, Speed
Right.
Racer.
I love Speed Racer.
You
I
do?
even love that version of Speed Racer.
I don't. I thought it looked cool when I
Yes.
saw the trailer, but then I watched it and I was like, this is a candy coated nightmare.
I'm fine with Candy Coated Nightmares because I ain't afraid of nothing. Um, uh, so yeah, Speed Racer as a child living in, I think, Georgia and then Italy. Um, Georgia, I used to watch Speed Racer all the time. And then we moved to Italy, and hey, they had it on there, but it was in Italian. So what? I'll still watch it. And I just was always affixed to the TV when that was on. So, like, Speed Racer and me, as a child, that's pure nostalgia, and I'm not a very nostalgic guy. But when I saw the movie, I was like, "Ugh, this movie, whatever." I was like you with the trailer, though, not with the movie itself. But the trailer just made it look too much indulgence. But I actually really like how they handled it. I really do.
Did
Everything seemed right, except maybe the kid.
yeah, I like Matthew Fox quite a bit in it, and I was kind of disappointed that it didn't do more for him. But the movie, like I said, it's on this list, so it lost a ton of money. I think maybe it's something that that people didn't connect to. Here's the weird thing: is Speed Racer was not a worldwide hit. You would think that internationally it would have made a ton of money, but it didn't. Not even in its like origin, like it's Japanese, right? Speed Racer.
The original, yeah, the original anime. It's anime. It's
Yeah.
60s, 70s anime.
Yeah, and for some reason it only made 20 million overseas, and that confuses me deeply because that doesn't. You think that would have been huge overseas, but not here. Like I only knew Speed Racer from the Devo
Yeah.
song. That's it.
What Devo song?
Oh, I want to say it's on. Oh no, it's Devo. They do a song all about Speed Racer.
Hmm.
It's very tongue in cheek, very goofy.
Never knew that.
It takes almost Speed Racer as if it was 10 years after the cartoon, like where they're all adults. Well, are they adults in the first place? I can never tell.
Uh, teenage, young adult.
Yeah, it feels like the song takes place like 10 years later, and they're grown ups and they're trying to adjust.
Enough for Pops to yell at Speed all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. John Goodman plays Pops in that one, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess that's all I have to say about that. I didn't really care for the movie. It has its audience. It just isn't me. There's nothing really wrong with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't care for it. The visuals were giving me a headache though. If I had seen that in the
Oh
theater,
well, no, it's candy colored nightmare, as you said.
okay.
If you can handle it, I can. I can handle it. I enjoy that, but I'm not gonna put it on all the time. It's not gonna be on loop in my house or anything. That would actually be a nightmare, psychosis-inducing nightmare, because there's a lot of whip pans and there's a lot of spinning car action where the camera's mounted on the car, and so you see a lot of spinning colors just spinning. I happen to like roller coasters, so I'm fine.
Number 28,
Next.
Around the World in 80 Days with Jackie Chan.
Didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh, it's just another adaptation, same book. Only
Nope.
thing is there's more kung fu.
Of course, I mean, and Schwarzenegger cameo, and he's wearing a turban. I don't know why.
I have no idea why. He's like playing a prince and he's trying to get the girl that's in it, and that's all there is to it. There's some Steve Coogan stuff, but he doesn't really get to do his thing, which, Steve Coogan, yeah, they kind of strip him of what makes him him, and he just seems like just another generic guy teamed up with, it's the Shanghai Noon concept. Just take a guy who chatters a lot and the other guy who doesn't and does a lot of physical stuff.
Hmm. That's lame.
I guess that's it. There's really nothing to say
That's
about
really
it.
lame.
Yeah, there's better adaptations, obviously, of Around the World in 80 Days. Unless you really like Jackie Chan, I would probably just steer clear of it.
Steve Coogan is that's a hard guy to get a handle on.
Yeah, he's very niche. I think he'll never.
He is. He's the trip is great, and Alan Partridge is perfection. Just both of those things are the things that really resonate with me. The
I have
Trip
that sitting in
and
my
Alan
queue. I
Partridge.
gotta watch that.
Which one? Alan Partridge?
Alan Partridge. Yeah, it just came up on Netflix. I have it sitting in my queue. I'm gonna watch it soon.
Okay. The trick to watching Alan Partridge is just shutting the heck up, and not even laughing, because a lot of the dialogue just keeps going, and there's not a lot of whenever a joke or something funny, some odd nut thing that happens, you just have to ingest it. You'll want to laugh, but then you might miss the next thing.
All right, this one we've talked
So,
about before, and I think both of us detest this movie. It's A Sound of Thunder at number 27.
Peter Hewitt's dad, I think.
Oh no, Peter Hyams.
Hold on.
You're thinking John
Peter
Hyams.
Hyams. Yeah, I was wrong.
This
Yeah,
is like
you're right.
this is like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last
He's.
gasp. Peter Hyams
I
is always
don't.
kind of a
Yeah,
work.
this
Go ahead.
is sad.
Yeah, Peter Hyams is always kind of like a workman, kind of, but
But
more
he has a visual style.
right. And then it just kind of disappeared after. I mean, as much as I know it kind of throws me under the bus here. I'm throwing myself under the bus by saying I like Time Cop and I like Sudden Death, even though they're kind of generic. It was those
Out,
two movies I
Outland.
think. What's that?
Outland.
Oh no, I was gonna say those two movies that he did with Van Damme changed everything, and then he stopped having his own kind of like tone and style, and the movie quality really started to dip.
Capricorn 1, Outland, those were his visual style. He has a visual style. Um, and I think he kept the visual style in Time Cop,
But I think he was making more mainstream. Like
but I don't think he kept it.
yeah, Peter Hyams seemed to be a gun for hire once Time Cop came around. He wasn't like it didn't seem like he was really being very careful with what he was choosing. I think he was just trying to get a paycheck.
Let me see something. I'm gonna check something real quick.
Okay, I'll pause.
He did 2010. So okay, he did Outland, he did Capricorn 1, he did 2010. All of those hold his visual stamp.
And I
And
also,
Time Cop. I think Time Cop did too.
yeah, I think he did bring a little bit of it to The Relic. I don't know if you remember that movie, the giant monster movie in the
Yeah, I was
museum.
gonna mention that. I hate The Relic.
Yeah,
I
he
watched
had,
it
but it
recently.
has his look.
Hate it. Yeah, it has because he works in dark a lot. He does a lot of work with dark, very decently.
I think it's weird when he would do comedies, like he did Running Scared, and
I
then he
don't think
did.
he's done any.
Did you see Stay Tuned with John Ritter? Like he did two comedies, and I always thought that was strange because it's kind of out of his
Oh,
wheelhouse.
I like Stay Tuned. We have Stay Tuned. We were gonna watch it this Halloween, but we missed watching it, so we're gonna watch it soon. Stay Tuned is great.
Yeah, it's just
John,
so.
it's one of John Ritter's best things.
Yeah, and it bombed badly, but it's much better than. I just don't think the studio know how to sell it.
Well, Sound of Thunder's problem isn't just that. It's that the studio didn't allow it to have the effects it needed.
Oh yeah, I was trying to watch it the other day, and do you remember the opening sequence where he's out in the street and cars are zooming by? It looks so insanely bad for an $80 million movie. It looks more like a $25 million movie.
Yeah, I'm really bothered by it, and the casting is just that's not the right cast for this type of movie.
Originally, I remember that it got greenlit, and it was going to be Rennie Harlan was directing it with Pierce Brosnan as a star, and they both dropped out.
Well, I don't mind Ben Kingsley in anything, just about. Even Uwe Boll's movies, Ben Kingsley adds something to it. But Edward Burns, no diss on Edward Burns because he's a filmmaker in his own right and he does great work in that arena. But when he's doing this as the lead, it's just he just ends up being the blank.
Yeah, he seems so blank in this movie. And when it comes to this kind of style, you need to have more energy. He seems very casual the way he talks. He may have passion, but he doesn't seem like that kind of big budget kind of persona. He seems like the more independent, smaller character pieces, which is what he
Mm-hmm.
thrives at.
Yeah,
Um,
I love Ray Bradbury, so
yeah,
I have a book signed by him.
I think the
It's
reason that Pierce Brosnan dropped out is because he didn't feel that was the story. Like they kept changing stuff, and he's like, "This isn't the story that it's based on. So why would I do it? This is just just like almost like a rip off of the concept,
well, Ray Bradbury Theater did the story in 30 minutes.
and a much
So
smaller budget."
much in a shoebox sized budget. There's like a couple of 20s and maybe a five and there. Like $45 went into the budget of that. It was a very lame budget, and they did that short. I think um, maybe an Outer Limits might have touched it. I'm not sure. I just remember seeing more versions of this story having been made, but this very big budget movie, as bloated as they tried to make it, eh, eh, a Tyrannosaurus apes,
What's funny
just
is I barely I
evolution.
I barely remember the movie, and I don't even know if I could sit through it now. It seems like one of those movies that. And the funny thing, this is another movie from Franchise Pictures where it says it's $80 million, but I get the feeling they smuggled some of that money.
Uh huh.
Uh,
Probably.
what's funny is I remember seeing a trailer for this movie in 2002. I honestly don't think it came out on video. I rented it when it first came out, and I'm pretty sure that was 2008. It sat around that long.
2005 is when it came out.
It did?
On.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Wow. Maybe I just took a long time to get around to renting it. But I know part of the reasons that it sat around wasn't just because Warner Brothers didn't know what to do with it, is because that company franchise was in court. So two or three of their movies got held up.
So it might have been done earlier.
It still doesn't make it a better
Either.
movie, that's for sure.
No, you're right. You're right.
Number 26, The Great Raid. Never finished it. As much as I
When?
like. What's that?
What year?
2005. It has
What's it had?
Benjamin
Eastwood,
Bratt.
right?
What's that?
Eastwood.
No, no. That's the one from the director of Red Rock West, John.
Doll.
Yeah, John Dahl. It's like his big budget movie that he did for Miramax. James Franco, Benjamin Bratt, and Joseph
Okay.
Fiennes, and it's another one of those movies that got delayed over and over and over because
What was
it's
the Eastwood one that came out around the time?
Flags of Our Fathers.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's why I got 'em confused.
And I think this is a Korean War movie, if I remember correctly, where it was either Korean War or Vietnam, but it's one of those movies that I just
Towards the end, it's actually towards the end of World War II.
oh, it is okay. I was way off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Told you I didn't finish the movie or it didn't resonate whatsoever.
Right.
I don't remember it being a bad movie. It's just one of those movies that I just could not connect to, and I think that's why it got dumped. It's just they didn't know what to do with it. And right before, you remember how the Weinstein's they got their company taken away from them. They got Miramax like stripped away, and they got cast aside with Dimension. Do you remember that
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah.
Well, The Great Raid was one of the very last movies under that window, and Miramax just dumped everything that had been sitting on the shelf for years, like within a 2 month period of time. And Great Raid was one of those that they just put out like very minimal release, like 1,000 screens, $10 million maybe promotion budget, and that was it.
Hmm. You know what's sad about John Dahl now, right now,
Yeah,
is that all he is a working director. And no, I'm not dismissing working directors because you can do a lot of great work, and he's actually worked on a whole heck of a lot of great, from Breaking Bad, True Blood, um, Shameless, Falling Skies, Homeland, even an Arrow episode,
really.
Vampire Diaries, 4 episode of Vampire Diaries, Hannibal, Dexter, Justified, The
Oh,
Americans, Californication, Ray Donovan, The Stain, The Bridge,
he's working a lot,
tons.
but it's just not the same. His movies were
But
very particular.
you can't see him.
Right.
You want to see him. He did Joyride,
He did Red Rock West. He did Unforgettable. He did The Last Seduction.
Kill Me Again, Red Rock West, Last Seduction, Unforgettable, Rounders, Joyride, and then some TV show stuff and The Raid. But since The Great Raid, he's been doing mostly television stuff.
He almost did Punisher Warzone. He actually signed on to it, and when he found out like the violence level, which is weird because you would think that he knew what the Punisher was, he just decided to step out. The budget was too small for his liking and too much gore.
Hmm. I don't necessarily. I think they could have. He could have made it work even better than they. I like the last Punisher movie. I do,
At first, I didn't
but
like it because the gore took me out of it. Sometimes the movies just do that for me. I don't know why. But then you kind of go back and you view that Lexi Alexander was just like, I'm going all in,
hmm
no holding back whatsoever. So now I view that almost as I love Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I think he's the perfect Punisher. But Ray Stevenson is pretty good, and the movie's tone on the second one, the Warzone one, is
yeah.
perfect. It doesn't sway like the way the one with John Travolta.
The only grouse I have about it is two grouses. Is just visually, it's way too neon. I think. And the villains, the two brothers,
Oh yeah,
are a bit
too much.
chewy. They just chomping on everything. They're just sinking their teeth into everything ever
Well,
around them. But they're great actors. So
we're halfway through the list.
is that the
I
last
don't
one?
want to stop on the Great Raid, so let's just finish on number 25,
All right.
Cowboys and Aliens. Did you see this
Oh,
one?
how I wanted to watch it. Oh, how I wanted to like it.
I
Oh,
know.
when I saw it, I was bored by it.
Yeah, I went to the theater and saw it, and everybody else is like getting really into it. I'm just like, I don't feel this at all, and I think it's the worst Harrison Ford performance ever. He's all just. I
And why is he playing a bad guy like that? Come on.
just feel like he was just. It felt like direct-to-video, low-budget acting, like someone way like Gary Busey acting.
Yeah.
Now Gary Busey. It's just like Harrison Ford, man. What are you doing? This is terrible. Sam Rockwell's wasted.
Yeah.
Uh,
I forgot that he was in it.
yeah. I can't believe I can't remember his name. Daniel Craig. I just feel like he was seriously miscast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Robert Downey Jr. was originally the star, and he stepped out.
Probably wanted too much money.
Better. He knew better.
Or he knew better. But have you ever seen the comic?
What movie?
The comic of this movie.
Oh no,
It's a,
no, I haven't.
it's a comic-based movie. I, as an illustrator, know how it feels to have your stuff slammed and talked badly about or not even regarded. I'm sadly going to talk negatively about the comic book artwork. I don't know about the story. The story is probably the exact same thing in the movie, but the artwork, it kind of gives you hope if you're an illustrator and you draw better than these guys, because it's bad. The artwork is bad. It's bad. It's high school bad. It's a guy who in high school drew all right for a high schooler, and then that's where he plateaued or something. And then he did this comic book. I don't know. I'm not speaking specifically. I'm just speaking how the art looks. I'm not talking specifically about the guy. I don't know his name. Don't know who he is.
Scott Mitchell Rosenberg.
Sorry, Mr. Rosenberg. I hope you draw better now.
Oh, it's Platinum Studios. They have never really been known for high quality comics. They're usually more concept.
They got this concept sold and optioned, and that was the deal. That was the big deal about it. They got this thing, basically a storyboard in comic book form, and shopped it. So success on you guys. You guys made a lot more money than I ever will, probably. But
oh boy,
it's really bad looking.
I'm looking at everything from this company. Okay, so originally started off called Malibu Comics. Do you remember them?
I remember Malibu.
And then I think Marvel might have bought them out, but then he retained the rights to some stuff. I don't know. But then it became Platinum Studios. So if you look at all the projects that they've done, they're really disappointing. So they did Dylan Dog, Dead of Night.
Wait. They drew Dylan Dog, or they reissued?
Let me look here.
I think it's reissuing. I don't think anybody's ever done Dylan Dog except for the Italian dude.
No, they own the rights. They own the rights to the adaptation. It said Platinum's Macroverse Bible, a slate of comic book characters acquired by Rosenberg. So he bought the comic. So I don't know if they republished it or did they license the character.
Well, Dark Horse ended up doing the reissues in English of Dylan Dog.
Yeah, so that's kind of confusing, the wording on this. Dead of Night they did. I don't know that one at all. That doesn't seem familiar. Oh no, that's Dylan Dog. Okay, Dead of Night.
That's the Dylan Dog movie, Dead of Night. So they probably just got the rights to do the adaptation of the movie.
Right. Jeremiah. Do you remember that TV show on Showtime with Luke Perry?
Yeah.
I actually like that show, even though it's very tight budget. You know, it doesn't have a whole lot of scope.
Mm-hmm.
Nightman, which is notorious for being one of the worst superhero shows ever.
Right. He had a red eyeball.
Yeah, and it was like Manimal. In fact, I think if I remember correctly, Manimal shows up in Nightman. Do you remember Manimal at all?
No. I know the character just by looking at it, but I don't know the story or anything.
Yeah, it's just a guy who has the power to turn into like a hawk or a panther. It's really stupid. It's notorious for being one of the biggest flops in TV history. But for some reason, he showed up on Nightman. It's the same producer, I think. Ultra Force, and then their big one is they had the rights to Men in Black. That was a Malibu comic.
Okay.
So they reaped the benefits of that. That's probably how they got Cowboys and Aliens made, is because, well, these guys did, they knew what they were doing with Men in Black, even though they don't really know what they're doing. That's more of the producer and director and star that know what they're doing. It's just a comic book,
Yeah, the concepts, because Men in Black wasn't a comedy. Men in Black was a serious story about the Men in Black. And then they got everybody they got to make the movie, and then it was a comedy. Then it was fun times.
Yeah, so I have to say, back to Cowboys and Aliens, severely disappointing. Even visually, I wasn't that excited. And it's not as if the Old West can't be turned into something visually exciting. It's when you added the aliens to it, I just didn't care. I didn't care about the villain. I didn't care about the design, the action.
It needed... Okay, if you're going to do Western, there's probably two ways you can do Western. The Clint Eastwood way, the real Clint Eastwood Unforgiven type of direction, or spaghetti Western homage. And I believe they should have simply done spaghetti Western homage with aliens.
Should they have ditched the comedy?
No, you don't ditch the comedy with spaghetti Western. You just keep everything as dry as possible. You keep it black comedy.
Yeah.
Dark.
It felt like a lot of times in that movie that they're really really trying to press for the comedy, and it just wasn't there.
You saw Quick and the Dead, right?
Right.
The problem with Quick and the Dead is the score. The score doesn't sound like a spaghetti western, but you replace it with spaghetti western music, and it's a perfect spaghetti western homage. You have the humor there, and it's all pitch black. There's nothing cheery, no silly humor things to it.
Uh-huh.
But the humor's there, including in the camera work. Part of the charm of spaghetti westerns is these crazy zooms and low angle camera setups and so on.
Yeah,
and that's what's
and the fact that no one's really good. I always love that.
Right.
Every character is kind of gray, just like deeper levels of gray as you go along.
so. Cowboys versus Aliens. We saw it in the theater and we're just bored, and that's the thing. The script was uneven, so I think through word of mouth it failed.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. So I almost said Mel Gibson. Harrison Ford has a thing where he has a movie that has broken $100 million every decade, so 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. And it had just, what was that, 2010 or 2000? It was 2011. And I was like, oh, he's going to keep the streak going, because I really thought Cowboys and Aliens, it's from the director of Iron Man, it's got James Bond, and it's going to be a huge hit. And I remember as it hit around 95 million, I was like, oh, please, just get over 100. Just get over 100 so it qualifies. Because I want him to have one like every decade. And of course, at the time, we didn't know there was going to be another Star Wars. And I think it literally ended at $100 million, like an additional like 1,000 on top of that. That was it. So he qualified.
Yeah, well, he doesn't need it.
No, but I always thought it'd be cool if he could continue that record for as many decades as possible, because I don't know anybody else who could do it.
Right. But he's so, I don't know, like you said, he's so crotchety and just silly grump. But I'll tell you something else about Harrison Ford, other than being a grump in public and in movies nowadays. He's also a helicopter pilot, and he does really cool things like saving people with his helicopter. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So we could probably leave it there. Harrison Ford is a rescue chopper pilot.
Maybe he's his own action figure. Holy moly, he's a real life action hero. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, on that,
he flies the chopper. They send out the guy to hook the guy who's stuck in a wilderness somewhere, and he flies the chopper out. He's super important.
Well, I guess when you're not doing movies, you do like really important things. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. Well, on that positive note, I think we should end this chapter.
You're welcome.
Hee I guess we'll end this chapter. We'll continue the next 24 movies some other time, probably next week. This is it for me. I'm signing off. This is Michael.
This is Andrew.
Good night.
Au revoir.
The order's out. He's to be caught.